Well, hello everybody, welcome back. Today we're just going to do a cheeky little tag video. Yep, I was tagged by the lovely Emmy's World of Fragrance. Go check her out. She's a relatively new channel. She was inspired by Josh Jane's tag videos, and they're sort of inspired by a makeup channel. So they're taking the idea from makeup related tag videos and transfer them into fragrance videos. So she's tagged me to do the fragrance house tag. Fun questions about fragrance houses that are of course relevant to our fragrance collection. So by all means, do stick around, see what houses I'm going to be talking about. If you haven't already, go check out Emmy's World of Fragrance. Obviously, check out this video that she's created and all the others that she's done. And Emmy, obviously, thank you so much for tagging me. Let's get into it. Which house or fragrance did I love when I first started collecting and still love now? And there's an option to choose a fragrance if there isn't a house that's relevant. But we're going to talk about a house. And we're going to talk about Lempicka, because this was the house that I first fell in love with when I was on my little quest to search for the perfect violet fragrance. This is the one I ended up with, and I continue to buy more from this house. So I've ended up with a few, a fair few. I've got 6, so I'm going to show 5 because the 6th one I'm going to talk about will be in a different question for a different reason. But these are the 5 that I've got that I do absolutely love, and because I still love them and I still wear them and I still really enjoy them, this is the house that I would pick. So I discovered this house when I was watching a video from Casually Fragrant, and she did a video on her favourite violet fragrances, and I love that video. And she talked about Lempicka's Eau de Toilette being one of her favourite violet fragrances, and I promptly ordered a little mini just to test it out. And the mini that arrived was actually the EDT, and that's the one I ended up buying first, actually, because it's the one I loved. I thought, oh, I love that, and then I bought it, and then I realised it wasn't that one, and it was all a bit of a confusing issue that you don't need to worry about, but I ended up buying both of these anyway. So the EDT is my favourite, as evident by obviously the amount that's gone down, but I use it sparingly now because you just cannot get hold of these bottles anymore. A violet, there's ivy, there's woodsy notes. It's much lighter than this one. This is obviously the stronger licorice version, much denser and warmer and richer. You've got the, which one was this? This is the, I don't know, I can't remember what it's called, the Minute, I think, and that's much deeper with musks. Still with the licorice, there's more of a sandalwoody feel with that one, but it's beautiful. This is a really lovely little one. This is the much lighter, airier version. It still has a note of licorice, but it's more about this sort of powdery almond. It's very delicate, very gentle. El Diolita runs in a completely different direction to all of these. And it's a very warm gourmand, not strong, quite airy. It's a dupe for the Lyra by Xerjoff, quite similar. It's like an orangey chocolatey, powdery chocolate with a bit of spiciness. Really lovely, that one. So we're here to talk about the house, not the fragrances. It's very hard to find any of these fragrances now. You find them popping up on eBay every now and again. Different prices appear. But anyway, I still love the fragrances. I still love the house. I think it's super cute, super whimsical, and they're still very much loved in the fragrance community. So my choice is the house of Lempicka. So the next question is the house that I've moved on from. So that's going to have to be the house of Ghost. This is a house that I got quite a few different fragrances from, quite a few different flankers. This is the original, and I wore this one for so many years, because it was the only fragrance I liked, really. And it's a rose fragrance. It's like a really juicy, vibrant, luminous kind of rose, very simple, very watery and delicate. And there's a slight musky quality, only slight. I think there's some peony in there as well. I think there might even be a fruity note, possibly mandarin. It's a very nice fragrance, but I've moved on from it. I wore it forever. I had Dark Night or Deep Night from this one. I had another one that was pink juice, and they're all they've all got that scent that I've moved on from. So it's a beautiful fragrance, or beautiful fragrances, beautiful house. Still doing well, I think, but for me, they're from yesterday, and I've moved on. So that's the house of Ghost. So the next question is the house that you thought of as being really expensive, but is now a must-have. I don't think I'll ever lose sight of how expensive some fragrances are. And there's quite a few that I love that I couldn't imagine not having. But as a house on the whole, there is a house, I guess, that was a massive luxury at the beginning, and now I've got quite a few. I couldn't imagine not having them. And there's a few here, but they're all ones that I have got good deals on, and that's the key part, I think, of this, is that I don't lose sight of what they're worth, but I never spent the amount that you'd normally spend at retail, ever. I've always bought all of these Diors from eBay sellers, and I'm very fortunate to always find a cracking good deal on all of them. They've always been way under the price that you'd normally pay. So all the sort of fragrances that I find easy to wear. And I do like fragrances that are kind of watery and delicate, and but still, you know, beautiful. Still got a beautiful character without being overpowering. And all of these do that for me. They all have something really beautiful and easy to wear, and are very me. Easy just to throw on, that kind of situation. So despite this being a luxury line that aren't cheap, these are must-haves in my collection. Based on what I spent, they're all easy reaches. They're all comfortable reaches. With the exception of Fève Delicious, they're all year round signature scents, I find. So that's my choice for that question. That is the House of Dior, but it's the Maison Dior line. So the next question is, which house do you not want to try because of the bottle design? And I've only got one example in my collection, although obviously I have clearly bought a bottle. No real reason why, just didn't appeal to me, I suppose. It's a bit shallow and a bit petty, I suppose, to just write off a whole house because you don't like the bottle. But I find the experience of buying a fragrance as a whole includes the presentation as well as the fragrance. It's like a piece of art in itself, and I do get put off with a disgustingly ugly bottle. I don't like bottles that are top heavy. There are some very awkward looking ones that I've seen. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but the one I'm going to talk about is the one I can actually show you, and that is Intense Cafe by, well, it's not the House of Montal, but I've got to Intense Cafe. Didn't really ever look at them and think I will never buy a fragrance because of the design. I just didn't bother to even investigate the house because the bottles were just uninteresting. They just didn't look like a beautiful looking piece of art. They looked clunky and awkward and industrial and hairsprayy and a bit masculine maybe. This was the same one that Emmy chose for this question as well. It's just awkward. I can't remember why I even bought a sample of Intense Cafe now. I think it just landed on my radar and I went for it, and I fell in love with it instantly. And I just decided that it doesn't matter. I wanted the fragrance, so I got it. But the bottle isn't my favourite. I shall do my best to overlook the bottle design because I'm obviously missing out on probably some really great fragrances. So there you go, House of Montal. Okay, so the next question is a house that lured me in through its bottle design. Honestly, pretty much every single one. Like, I'm always going to be attracted to a beautiful fragrance bottle. Anyway, I'm going to go with, I could go with anything. I really could go with anything here. But I'll go with one as an example of buying purely for the bottle design. And that's these. That is, I had another one actually from this house, but I sold it because it really wasn't a fragrance I was ever going to wear. So Lisbeth and James is the house, and Nirvana is the collection of fragrances. And this one is the black, this one is the bourbon. I had the rose. The rose was okay, it just went a little bit sour and bitter on my skin. I don't really reach for either of these. I like them both. They don't hold up to all of my other fragrances. This one I used to wear when I went to bed. It was just a really nice sort of, I think it's sandalwood, violet, and something else. I can't remember what's in there. It's just 3 notes. It's very simple. It is actually really nice. It's just, I don't reach for it. This one, another one. It's got a heavy note of tuberose, which, what else is in there? I can't remember, but it smells a bit whiskey. But I like the bottle designs for whatever reason. They're just like a cigarette case. They're quite simple. They're nice and heavy. They've got a lovely textured surface, which I guess I like sensory things, and I just like holding them and doing this with them. But I bought them purely because of the bottle. Can't sell them. I don't wear them, but I don't want to sell them. I don't want to get rid of them. I like to sniff them every now and again. I like to just examine the bottle and admire them. And I've got loads of bottles that I love, a lot more than these. I don't know what it is. I find them really interesting, and it's just an example of one that I bought purely for the bottle. So there you go. That's Nirvana by Lisbeth and James. Next is the house that you've never tried and don't want to. I'm going to go with the House of Amouage. I'm not bothered about the house. I don't know what it is. There's just, the bottles don't grab me. Every fragrance so far that I've seen reviewed doesn't grab me. There's no desire. The house is high-end and expensive. So I haven't bothered to seek anything out. I haven't worried about, you know, getting too involved with finding anything from the house. Probably saving myself a lot of money in the long run. But Amouage just isn't one that ever falls onto my radar. I don't know, I just can't see me ever having one. I can't see me ever being interested in one for whatever reason. So I'm gonna, yeah, House of Amouage. Not something you may ever see on the Rose and Jones channel, but plenty more fish in the sea. So next up, a house that currently encapsulates my fragrance preference. Think about that one. Okay, there is a house that's just landed on my radar. I've already got one. I'm hoping to get another one very soon. I really enjoy the vibe from this house. That is Almond Jane. This is the house of Almond Jane. And I've enjoyed everything so far that I've sampled. And I like how they all make me feel. They're all my kind of style, you know. They're kind of similar to the way that Sylvain Delacour does her fragrances. Very sort of pure and natural and really well blended. And they're really just beautifully done. And like, I'm starting to appreciate and detect the DNA that they all share. You know, I'm starting to link and vibe with it. I'm basing this really on only having tried 5, well actually no 4, because one of these is this one. Having only tried 4 fragrances from the house, but to enjoy every single one and know that they would have a very welcome place in my collection, every single one, that's a good start, I think. They all have like a purity and a kind of weightless quality that I really enjoy. Almond Jane is a house that I am really excited to investigate further. Privé is the next one that I want to... Okay, I've just lost Privé. She's disappeared and rolled into the drawer. So yeah, Almond Jane, a house that I'm currently loving, and it encapsulates where I'm at the moment. So the next question is, which house gives you an exclusivity vibe? Which is interesting, actually. And that's a house that is just a little bit too out of your comfort zone. I'm going to go with Roger Dove. I do have a decant of a Roger Dove, and that's about as far as I think it'll ever go. It's a very ostentatious house. I mean, the bottles, if you've ever seen them, of course, are bejeweled. Just beautiful presentations. Everything's encased in velvet, and you know the drill. All these things. It's a big deal. It's not just the price of the Roger Doves that I find intimidating. There's something about the presentation, kind of granular feel, the way the house takes itself very seriously. I find it quite unapproachable. I can't imagine seeing one of the bottles in my collection at all. But I have bought this decant of Midsummer Dream. Stunningly beautiful. I love the top notes of this kind of lemony resin. There's ginger. It's very fresh. It's very aromatic, very bright, invigorating kind of fragrance. Very rich and resinous. Very, very strong. I mean, it's great quality. I'm sure all the offerings in the house are absolutely stunningly beautiful. And I'd love to try a few more samples. But the status of Roger Dove fragrances is just not something I'm interested in. They're too ostentatious. You know, I could imagine walking into like a Roger Dove boutique and feeling completely intimidated. I'm not doing any injustice here, but I just feel that staff could be looking down at you and wondering if you're worthy of buying one of their fragrances. Just my personal thoughts and feelings on the house. I do have my little decant to enjoy. So yeah, Roger Dove. So the next question is to give an example of a lacklustre fragrance that's been released from a house that I love. But going back to my original first question, I chose Lempicka. I did have a 6th bottle that I didn't show, and that was Sweet. That's the Sweet. And I bought this because was collecting them. I was thinking of myself as a Lempicka collector. I heard about this one and I just bought it. It was cheap on eBay, and I figured, well, you know, it goes with the collection. But I don't really enjoy the fragrance. In fact, it's very lacklustre. It's kind of a cherry lollipop kind of vibe, but it's very juvenile in my opinion. I can imagine it a cherry lip gloss, like a really synthetic cherry lip gloss. I think it'd be pretty for a little girl. It's a very sweet, innocent kind of a scent. Actually, my friend likes this one, so perhaps it's just me, but she loves this one, so that's great. But that's just not my thing. I find it really, really lacklustre. So generic and uninteresting, and yeah, what more can I say? It's a cherry lip gloss in a scent. It's alright. It's alright. It just doesn't hold to the rest in my opinion. So that is the lacklustre offering from the house of Lempicka. Which niche house should be more readily available, or I wish was more readily available? And I'm sure there are tons, but the one that's popped straight into my mind is the house of Thornton Manley, which is the Australian company. They're based in Melbourne, and they're responsible for me buying my first ever stunningly gorgeous niche fragrance in the form of Confessions of a Garden Gnome. I've mentioned this quite a few times and I don't care. I'm going to talk about it till the cows come home because I love it so much. This house is, I had trouble getting this fragrance. I had to buy it from an Italian, I think it was Italian company in the end, which was recommended to me by Thornton Manley. I had to contact Thornton Manley to ask them which was the nearest retailer where I could avoid the extreme cost of postage. And the company was called Neroli in Italy. Will sell the bottles, but they don't sell samples. But perfumista.co.uk have just started to do a selection of samples for Thornton Manley, which is fantastic. I actually bought Charlatan recently, sample, which is one I've been dying to try. Charlatan isn't something I would normally go for. It's got a really strong, musky, dirty quality, and also there's a dirty jasmine, which is definitely nothing I'd ever thought I'd like, but there's just something in this I love, something so damn addictive. It becomes a really beautiful dirty pear juice with jasmine and chocolatey, bitter chocolate. I don't know, it's quite addictive, that one. But as for Confessions of a Garden Gnome, Lily of the Valley, it smells tobacco-y, which is weird because I don't think that's even a listed note, but it does smell kind of tobacco-y at the same time. It's also, there's a greenness to it, which is fresh and vibrant. I have to smell it because it's very complex and very unusual and just stunning. So there you go, that's Thornton Manley, house that I wish was more available in the UK. Sorry about the change of light and possibly angle here, I got really tired. So we're back on a whole new day, but we've got one more question to go. The last question is, which fragrance house would I rebrand? Seems rather presumptuous to think I could rebrand a fragrance, but I've got to say I'd love the challenge. It's so much fun. I've got one fragrance here in my collection, not completely rebrand it, just tweak it a little bit, and it's the House of Byredo. The bottle without the lid. Look how classy that looks. And I know they're going for a very understated, chic, trendy kind of style. That to me completely kills it. So I would just change the lid. Let's just go for it. Let's just see if we can find a lid that actually works. No offence, Byredo, we're going to choose a new lid. No, but seriously, I mean, this lid would make anything look beautiful, wouldn't it? This is the lid from Centauri Fragrances, and I mean, it is just perfection and stunning. The house would have had a vision, reasoning for this lid, and I'm sure they spent hours and days and weeks on the design. So the House of Byredo, that is the house that I would rebrand very slightly, only slightly, just a little tweak. So I think we're about done here. This is obviously a tag video. I would just happily and humbly tag every single YouTube fragrance channel that I am subscribed to. I'd love to see everyone do this one. But there is one person in particular that I would love to tag. That is Fragrance with Amy. She's back filming her fabulous videos, and I'm really happy to encourage that. So Amy, if you watch this video, that would be amazing anyway. But if you fancy doing this tag, love to see all your choices. Fingers crossed. I think that's the end of the video. I shall leave you there. Hope you're all well. See you all soon. Over and out.